Hi there. Because it was just upfront panel week, Netflix announced that they had renewed Benioff and Weiss's new series, Three Body Problem. But what they actually said was confusingly worded, and not just me. News sites said, "What do you mean by this? This is intentionally vague." To the point that they actually had to put out a clarification, and they said multiple things in this to different outlets. People were confused about it, so I'm giving a quick update to sort things out. Of course, the one big point of this video is don't take my word for it. I think winteriscoming.net summed up and analyzed everything really well in one article. And it has more impact when I'm citing a professional source, not just me, of what the heck is going on here. That it appears that they were only renewed for one more season, when they wanted 4 seasons. And at the time I said, we're going to hold them to that it's a book trilogy, but book 3 is so long, they said preferably 4 seasons. And even 3 wouldn't be embarrassing for a trilogy. I don't even think they were renewed for a full season equal to the first of 9 episodes. I think they might have gotten like 4 to 6 episodes to condense the next 2 books into, and they're going to release it in 2 batches. Like when they had Stranger Things release in 2 batches for season 4, and drastically truncate it. So winteriscoming.net summed it up best, in their own words, not mine. This sounds exactly like how you truncated season 7 and 8 on Game of Thrones. It's happening again. That they said we consider the 13 episodes of seasons 7 and 8 one big 13-episode season that we aired in 2 parts. Just with this limited of an episode count, and how could you do that? And that the next book, the scale expands even bigger. You'd need even more episodes than the ones they had in the first time. And I'm keeping this short of just, I've had other videos talking about this, which I will link to at the end. But a big factor in this is they went drastically over budget because they don't really know how to run a TV show from a practical level of logistics. That they spent $20 million per episode. That is equal to the per episode production cost of House of the Dragon. And other shows with that production cost should be getting twice their ratings. Like Avatar Last Airbender live action and One Piece were getting slightly better ratings than they were, slightly better viewership, at less than half of the cost. That this is ridiculously over budget. So they had problems with that. They had this confusing thing. I'm just going to screenshot this to be quick, of Hollywood reporters saying, no, we got additional episodes. And what, you think news reporters are just going to parrot that without going, so is it a season or not? They just said, oh, additional episodes, and the usual blurbs about, we're so pleased to be finishing this the way we want. No, you said 4 seasons, you idiot. And winteriscoming.net picked that apart. What exactly is happening? This is my speculation, though, that it didn't really succeed very well, and that this was supposed to be the next Game of Thrones. This was supposed to be a pop culture phenomenon. Netflix, more than other studios, doesn't even look at budget. They've openly said, we look at how viral something is, how much people are talking about it, and like, yeah, the week it premiered we were, but this was supposed to be like the next Fallout or Shogun scale thing, or next House of the Dragon. It wasn't. What I suspect is happening is that Netflix put out an announcement just for the sake of having an announcement, but in private things are still in flux. That this wouldn't be the first time Netflix has quietly canceled a show a year later that they said at the time they would renew. They had to say something because it was upfront week, that these are people who are trying to save face. That being said, they're probably not going to cancel it outright. But what I think is in flux is the exact count of episodes they have renewed it for. That when they were intentionally vague and said, additional episodes, meaning what? I think what they're waiting on is Emmy nominations. Emmy nominations get announced in July. And that this was supposed to be the next, again, like Shogun, and even Fallout is in the running for Emmys. This was supposed to be this rare cross-platform of what they call high-end low culture. Like The Crown isn't like the scale of Fallout, but it gets a lot of awards. Or and vice versa, that this was supposed to be a Game of Thrones Shogun-like show where it was both really high ratings and winning Emmys. Because, hey, we're Benioff and Weiss. We're the guys that gamed the Emmys for even later Game of Thrones was terrible. They were just winning Emmys as a popularity contest. So, okay, it didn't get viewership. Maybe it'll do better at the Emmys, is probably the Netflix's mentality now, that I think if they don't get a single nomination at the announcements, which are on July 17th, they will reduce the episode count, or small chance of canceling it outright, but it's the difference between, all right, you have 8 more episodes to cover 2 books worth of material, to you have 6 or even 4 more episodes to cover 2 books worth of material. The episode count is dependent on, you screwed the pooch here, you screwed up, this is earning half of what we thought it would, it didn't turn into a viral sensation, and oh, well, it's a critical darling. Is it? How are they going to do at the Emmys? Because they are up against The Crown, The Crown's final season at the Emmys, which is also a Netflix project, which they'd be promoting over this. Granted, it doesn't seem Three Body Problem was up for any, acting awards, but the major ones, Best Drama, Writing and Directing, and the writing and directing was functional, but you never know. But the other thing, I've talked about this in all my other reports on, there was a big retirement wave at the Emmys. I mean, Succession is gone, Better Call Saul is gone, and House of the Dragon has no off-season, so I think House of the Dragon will really clear out next year, but you really think there's no chance they can win against The Crown, or I've looked up these lists of potential ones, we're just going to post some screenshots here. The big shift was everyone thought Shogun was a mini-series, which wouldn't compete head-to-head with this, and at the last minute they went, this is such a hit, let's renew it for more seasons, they might be good or not, doesn't matter, because that means season 1 now qualifies as a full drama at the Emmys. So that unsettled the entire Emmy race, that there's actually 8 slots. They expanded the number of nominations, which I think is a bit much to have 8 nominees in a category. I'd have 5 or 6 at most. But the point is, now Shogun is in there with The Crown and a couple of other shows like Fallout for probably going to get Best Drama nominations. And I don't think anyone would, even Netflix, wouldn't seriously expect them to win. They want The Crown to win. If they don't get a single nomination for Best Drama, or even writing and directing is a bit harder to predict, but it's not as prestigious as, Best Drama, I think they're saving face by they said something for the sake of just BSing us. They might be waiting on seeing the Emmys, and if they don't, there's a chance they could quietly cancel it maybe 2 years from now. And a separate thing that others noted is they said, we will be working on this for another 3 years. Well, if you started now, the next season would only come out 3 years from now, that they are not renewed for a full 4 seasons. Why all of this is important is because, as I've said, nothing fails like failure. People only really started turning on Joss Whedon, who had dirt to turn on him after the failure of Justice League, that a successful showrunner can do no wrong, and the cast and crew are afraid to speak out against him, from the old Game of Thrones crowd. But if this is a clear industry failure, that look, since 2019 you've been working on this, it wasn't a mega hit, and if this wraps up by 2027-ish, okay, in this 8-year stretch you aren't the golden boy, Benioff, you haven't actually done that much else, people might be more willing to turn on him, who, like Emilia Clarke, particularly Lena Headey, was not amused by them, but who knows? I said we want our Ray Fisher moment, where when the cast and crew themselves turn on them, it's not just, a director turning on us, it's you're losing the pop culture battle that they've built themselves up as these icons, which is all fake, it's all PR propaganda. Combine that with what if The Winds of Winter actually comes out within the next 2 years. I think it's coming out sooner than that, but just, let's say 2027-ish, that this is either cancelled or peters out, and we get Winds of Winter to see this was not the ending. Even Season 6 is not what the books are doing. We don't need the final book to see Seasons 5 and 6 were drastically off book. They tentatively renewed it, they might even cancel it later, and I think they're going to slash the episode count even further They might not even do the third book. They might just go, hey, you have 4 episodes to do book 2, which you could arguably end at, because then you have to introduce all this. If you read the books, so like you could end at the end of the Dark Forest and claim, oh, this is the story arc. So they are intentionally hedging their bets and being vague, because even they might not know, and it'll be interesting to see if we get new announcements after the Emmy nominations, July 17th. So keep your eyes open for that. The one thing, though, is because we're 3 weeks out from the House of the Dragon premiere, I'm just taking this time to announce I will not be able to post a detailed review podcast. I don't really need to. That's the second video I'm going to link you to, is I did do a rundown of all the major professional reviewers from news outlets and magazines and journals that, moreover, their opinions carry more weight than mine do. Of just these reviews saying it wasn't an obvious flop, but it was presentable at best. There were some issues with it. That you hyped this up as literally the next Stranger Things, literally the next Game of Thrones, and it was presentable. It didn't really generate that buzz. It generated half the viewership you thought it would. That this is underperforming. So don't take my word for it. Look at their reviews and the separate thing. I pretty much say what they said. I would just go over a few more things. I mean, I watched it of just, you can tell from the camera work, they're trying to pander the actors, that kind of thing. And, you know, 1 or 2 of the reviewers did note, it feels desperate, like it feels insistent upon itself, as if it takes itself so seriously. You can tell someone made this wanting it to be an Emmy vehicle, that they needed it to be impressing people, so they kind of try too hard in scenes that don't really merit it. But judge it for yourself, but just, I might re-marathon it and make a audio-only podcast review with maybe some screenshots, like, in August. Don't hold your breath, because people said don't waste more time on this. That's sort of evidence of its failure. So few people really kept... There was so little buzz for Three Body Problem that a week after it was out, we weren't really talking about it anymore. If I made a review video, not that many people would watch in the next 3 weeks before House of the Dragon. Now, if it gets canceled, I'll rush something out by August, but that is officially crossed off the handwritten to-do list I had. I'm not going to post a podcast review for the foreseeable future, maybe at some point in the year-long off-season we have after House of the Dragon Season 2, but the 2 videos to check out are the one where I talk about, look at its viewership ratings comparable to other Netflix shows even, is just as half of what it should have been. They underperformed. And then the one where I did an overview of professional reviews of it, saying things like, this is good but not great, it's presentable, it's kind of forgettable, all of those. That's what I'm reporting on it for now, because we have to be in House of the Dragon Season 2 prep mode by now, and come the Emmys, it'll be so weird that they're touting these guys after this wasn't even like the best show of the spring. Shogun and Fallout impressed people more than this. This was a footnote.